Welcome to the Accidental Experts podcast. I'm your host, Bryce Hamilton. I'm a licensed clinical social worker and a child and family therapist. I have been in practice for over 15 years, and I'm also a mom of 4. So I know the challenges both professionally and personally. I'm so glad that you're here today to grow your parenting toolbox. Please come as you are and be ready to learn. My goal is to make you the accidental expert so that you can raise healthy humans. Hi, everyone. Welcome back. I'm so glad you're with us today. So we are going to be talking about parenting in a community, which I think is such an important topic because oftentimes I feel like I'm failing at this job. It's good to know that we're all in good company. There are no winners in this parenting club here we're in. And we have expert Annah Elizabeth, who is the founder and creator of the Five Facets Philosophy on Healing, which is a revolutionary and groundbreaking guide that helps you to live your best personal, professional, and philanthropic life, even in the face of adversity. She is a transformational life and spiritual coach and an international medium and energy medicine practitioner and teacher. She is a published author, a Tedx keynote and community speaker, a worship facilitator, a continuing educational trainer, and a guest lecturer. Annah's coaching services and training program include academic alternative modalities, all designed to meet your unique and preferred needs. Her writings and works have been featured in numerous online magazines, radios, and TV programs, and national live events such as NC-NASW, Open to Hope, and Compassionate Friends Conference, and more. With that, I will welcome Annah. Welcome.
Thank you. I am happy to be here, Bryce.
Yes, this is going to be such a great conversation because I think as parents, we often have, like in this day and age, we have a conception of what good parenting looks like, and it's exhausting.
It is.
Right? Like being a parent in general is exhausting, but this idea that we have of good parenting, I think, is so exhausting and unachievable. So I'm so excited for you to be here to talk to us about how we can do this and honor ourselves and give ourselves space and also help our kids with community. So welcome.
Thank you.
Yes. Okay, so let's jump into it and talk about, why do you think parents do feel so much pressure to do parenting all on their own? And then maybe we can reflect on like what impact that can have, like negatively, maybe positively, about on our kids and our families.
There's the one thing that comes to mind is, and you had shared, some of the questions we're going to be discussing ahead of time. And one of the reasons that I found when I was raising my own children in doing it alone is sometimes it's just easier.
Yeah.
The truth of the matter is, by the time we give somebody else instructions and organize and orchestrate and coordinate things, we've expended a great deal of time and energy. And so sometimes it's just because it's easier to do it alone. Now, does that mean it's healthy? No. And we'll dive into that a little more later. But and the other reason is I think, and we hear this often, so it might sound trite, but social media, as much as it's been a good tool for us, it's also very discouraging because what we're seeing are highlight reels of people's lives, the glamour and the glitz and the success. We're not seeing all of the struggle. And so there's an element of like embarrassment and shame. Like if I have to ask for help, then somehow I'm less than these other people, or I'm not good enough, or I'm somehow flawed. And we can get caught up in that trap as well from a different, from a different lens. And it's just that pressure to shine and glow and to have the perfect, that perfect sort of image. And sometimes when we are doing things well and we're struggling, people think, oh, everything is perfect. And so, for instance, when I was raising my children, you and I we talked a little bit about ahead of time. And so trigger warning for any parents. I have 3 children, earth side and 1 heaven side. And my story of the loss that put me on the trajectory of what I do is losing my first son shortly after he was born to unexpected delivery complications, followed by 2 miscarriages, 2 very complicated but successful pregnancies, a 6-week psychiatric stay for severe depression, and 1 final pregnancy. 6 weeks after that child was born, I discovered my husband and my best friend were having an affair. All of that within 6 years and 10 months. During that time, I was working. I was raising my 2 children, the young, and then I was running my husband's businesses. We had a very public business. It was doing well, and I was really struggling for years. And people would say, "Oh, you have such a perfect life. Like your family is so well." And so there was that perception that people were saying, "Oh, everything is glorious." And it's like, wow, what's going to happen if I tell people that there are aspects of my life that are really sucky right now?
Yeah.
And so then there's that, again, that fear of shame and embarrassment and judgment and all of that. So it's not just one thing that contributes to that.
Yeah. Well, and I so agree, because oftentimes, in my practice, parents will say something to me like kindly, like, "Oh, you must have like the perfect kids, or you must be doing this so perfectly." And I'm like, hold up. Before we go down that path, know that is not true. I know all the things that we should do, right? Like I know how things are supposed to be, or how we could do things, or whatever that is. But I joke that I'm like literally in clinicals every day. I never left clinicals. I mean, I left for a period of time because I had my clinicals, and then I wasn't a parent yet. And then I became a parent and immediately started clinicals again in my own house. Right. So like,
Yeah.
yes, I mean, there's no perfect parent that exists. And so rid yourself of that. Like there is no award at the end of your life for doing everything yourself and for being the perfect parent. Like there is no entity that awards that, and no one would get it, right? Like there is no perfect parent.
And none of us were born with a handbook that says, in this situation, do this, in this situation, do that. And there's a quote that I learned after my children were raised and gone from the home. And I wish I had known it when they were growing up. And that is, every day we're doing the best we can with what we have, with where we're at.
Yes. Yes.
And there were so many times where I felt like I was just floundering, and so clinicals, we're it's trial by fire, as they say. I mean, we're constantly learning while we're raising our children. We think we're teaching them, and hopefully we're all learning as much about ourselves through the interactions with them as they're learning through us.
Yeah. Yeah. I keep advocating that the placenta should definitely be a handbook tailored to your child, but I don't know who to talk to about that. So, until I get that changed, right? Like you don't have a personalized handbook for each child.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
They could just extract the information from
right?
the placenta DNA. I mean, wow, that would be magic, wouldn't it?
It just needs to be translated right into a handbook. Like this will happen. You got this. Then we will all be perfect parents. We'll have perfect kids. It'll be amazing. But
no
in the
more
meantime,
trauma, but then you and I would be out of jobs.
You know what? That's okay. I say if I don't ever need a job, I would open a boutique gladly. I love clothing too. So like I'll just close this, then people will still need to be clothed, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely.
Okay. So, I mean, do you think that there's a negative impact, positive impact? Like what do you think our kids think when we are trying to do it all on our own, right? When we kind of filter out like the other people's help or other people knowing what's going on. Do you think that impacts our kids?
I think there has to be a balance, right? Balance between leaning too heavily on other people and being too independent.
Yes.
And so I think starting at home is the place to really sort of embody that, not doing it all on your own.
Mm-hmm.
And one of the things that I did early on, because I thought I'm not Superwoman, as much as I'd love to wear a cape, not Superwoman. And so early on, age appropriately, I encouraged and my children, I had a chart on my refrigerator as they got older. It was called the HHH chart, which was Happy, Healthy Home. And they all had rotations in different household chores, things that
Yes.
needed to be done. And I'm not the only one that lives here.
Mm-hmm.
And what that taught them is, when they went away to school, they knew how to take care of themselves. They knew how to do their laundry. They knew how to sweep floors. They knew how to fold laundry and make their bed and to help out.
Mm-hmm.
And so I think that is something, the more that we bring them in to our own family community, we're teaching them how to be independent, how to be supportive, how to work in community. And then we can extend that outside of community. And then we have, the opposite, where the parent is like, nope, don't need help, gonna do it all, do it all on my own. And what can happen, and I've seen happen, is that the children leave home, number one, they don't know how to be independent. And there's a risk of them becoming sort of entitled and expecting other people to always take care of them and make things happen for them.
Mm-hmm.
And so I think that's where the balance comes in, of saying, there are certain things we can do on our own, and there are certain things that we need community. And that was something that I learned as I went along. So yeah, when you get that DNA extraction from the placenta in the book, like, let me know, because I'll make sure that I pound that out far and wide.
Yes.
It really, you learn as you go.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah.
Does that
I mean,
answer your question?
yes, absolutely. Absolutely. Because I think that's such a good piece of thinking about how to incorporate our kids into that. Because the truth is, I mean, especially raising girls, right? And if you're a mom who is modeling that you're doing everything, then you know how exhausted you are. Because I know that, like, even when I do delegate tasks, I'm exhausted, right? So there is a lot of tasks that everybody in my household contributes to, but it's still exhausting to be, especially a working mom. But even, I mean, working in the home is, I'm thankful to go to work. There are days where I'm like, I just need to leave this place, right? I
Yeah.
need to get out of my house, get to work, then I can have a new setting, right? So I think, everything that we're doing is hard. And then if our daughters see us and our sons watching us, then they expect that the wife or the woman in the home, if there's a woman, that they're going to do, that's what it's going to be like. And then we're telling our daughters that's what you should do. And so it's this vicious cycle. And I don't know about you, but I don't want to do it all. I really don't. Like, I I can't, and I don't want to.
Yeah.
So I want help, but it's about modeling that and asking for it. And my kids, sometimes they have chores, but they'll sometimes complain. Like, one of my daughters takes out the trash, the other takes out the recycling, and they normally like go together and do it at the same time, even if one bin is not totally full, but the other is. And so, they'll be like, why do I have to do this? And I'm like, well, this is your chore, right? This is one of the things that you do to help around the house. And, I make dinner every night, and I, do different things. And it's like, sometimes I don't want to do my chores either. But we're all doing them because it's all helping the whole family. And so, I mean, sometimes I'm like, I'm not going to do laundry today. Right. But it's like, yeah. So I think it's good for us to think about how our kids are looking to us for an example. And it's part of our responsibility to teach them how to do these things, because becoming an adult isn't something that happens overnight, right? We have to teach them as they are growing.
As they grow. Yeah. And I remember one of the hardest things for me when I started incorporating this is, so I'm a recovering perfectionist. I heard somebody use that term, and I'm like,
Brene Brown, she's
like
awesome. Yeah.
teaching them to dust, right? Giving them dusting mitt and teaching them to dust, and they're going through, and they're 6 and 5 and they're dusting and there's a big streak, and not to be overbearing and say, oh my God, you did it wrong.
Mm-hmm.
And yet also learning to like teach them, okay, if you do it a certain pattern, then you'll cover everything.
Mm-hmm.
And letting them know that they're doing well, and then to just kind of look away and go, it's good for now. That little spot will get caught the last time, the next time. Yeah. And it's exhausting trying to teach them. And it goes back to sort of that first question, is sometimes it's just easier. And the caveat to that, though, is it's easier in the short term.
Yeah, right now.
It's, in the long term, it pays off tremendously. And that is one of the questions that, I would get raising my kids are like, your kids do their own laundry and they dust? Like, how did you do that? And I'm like, well, and they're 16 now, right? And the parents are going, I'm like, I started when they were little, and true story. My oldest was 9. I had started having him like clean the toilet in the bathroom where they were. And his sister was 6 and she was livid. She was so mad at me because I wouldn't let her clean the toilets. But I'm like, that's not really age. You've got chemicals and, sprays. I'm like, yeah, 6 years old. No. And she was so mad at me because her brother, right? And it sounds insane, right? But her brother got to clean the toilets and she couldn't. I mean, and it's that for them, it's a sense of accomplishment when we allow them to participate.
Yeah.
Now, as I got older, they would grumble, like you said, your kids were. And I'm like, you know what? Yeah, we all have stuff that we don't want to do.
Yeah. Well, and I listened to, I think it was on NPR years and years ago, but they were talking about when kids do chores, the thing that helped them, like a protective factor, if you wish, like to keeping them to doing chores and to volunteer to do chores, was to expect only C-level work, like as they're like learning, right? So to not have perfection as the goal, but eventually they get to that place where they want it to look like whatever too, or they want it to be like this too. And then also to like praise them for any efforts, right? And then to not go in and to fix whatever they didn't do. So if you accept the C-level work, but then you go back behind them and vacuum or whatever it is that they were doing, then that undermines that piece. Like you have to truly accept what they present. And it may be that like the next time you teach them something new, can I show you something? Or like, I learned this thing, or I'm wondering if we could try it this way, or what do you think a strategy would be for us to make sure that we get this or that this part happens? Like, how could we make that happen and kind of incorporate them into that? But I do agree. I mean, chores are we all have them, right? I mean, we all do. And I don't want to pick up all my kids' toys and I don't want to be responsible for making sure their room is clean, right? Like it's us too to be showing them that. Okay, so talk to me about what some common myths are about asking for help as parents that you'd like to break down. So what do you think people think? We kind of talked about this a little bit in our first topic, but like, what do you think barriers are or myths that they think will happen or be believed about them if they do ask for help?
Yeah. So shame, embarrassment, feeling lack, not worthy, not good enough, not smart enough, not fast enough.
Yeah.
And embarrassment. For instance, I had a friend of mine and we were doing a weight loss challenge, and whoever won, we had set it up. So it's like, and we were both raising our children. And so it's like, whoever won the weight loss challenge that week, the other person would go to their house and do about a half an hour's worth of work of cleaning. And whatever it was the person wanted, you could fold laundry, you could take out the trash, like whatever. And my friend, when she would win, she would say she cleaned before I came because she didn't want me to see her house. I'm like, that really is defeating the purpose. You're doing all this work, and this was like the challenge that you won, and I'm here to support you. That's your reward. And we'd set that up ahead of time. But for her, it was embarrassment of me coming in and seeing something. And so I did finally convince her one time. I'm like, look, what is the one thing? And she's like, I really don't like cleaning my microwave. And I'm like, I got you. Don't touch it, right? But so it's that sense of, embarrassment. So it's pride. Um, there's a sort of a misconception in life in general that if we can, for many of us, if we can do it on our own and we can be strong, then it just makes us stronger. And it really doesn't. And so those are some of the myths and the things that hold people back. But the truth is that many, that it's a cliche, but it's a cliche for a reason. Many hands make light work. And when we want to give, if we can give from a full cup, meaning we're revitalized, we're sourced, we're resourced, our energy, like we love ourselves, we're taking care of ourselves. When we can embody the fact that it's okay to be nurtured and supported and not be, that hero all the time, we actually are able to give even better. And I didn't know this when I was raising my children, but what I heard about monks, when we think about a monk, them just sitting in meditation all day long, like that's just what they do. And what I actually heard, and don't quote me on this, but the reason that they sit in meditation so much is their whole lens and focus is service. And so when they're in meditation, they are actually going inward and they are filling up their spiritual and human selves with love and vibrant energy, and with the intention that when they go out to serve, they are now going to be serving from a cup that is overflowing, full, and vibrant.
Yeah, I love that idea. Okay, so talk to me about community. So why do you think having a community or having a support system while parenting is important?
Yeah, for all those reasons. Number one, we can't be all the places, all the things, all the time. And for myself, my children were really active. They were active in sports, they were active in school, they were active, in community. And so I had 3 living children, and there was myself and my spouse at the time. So we couldn't be 3 places at one time. And because of their age differences, they were never or rarely in the same place at the same time. And so carpooling to events, to schools, to all of that was huge. We could not have done what we did and allowed our children to be as successful in the things that they wanted to do without that community. And also community really, it just helps us to know that we're not alone, that we all are experiencing something in our parenting lives and in our personal lives that we're trying to navigate. And it gives us the opportunity to just really understand that that we're all doing the best we can with what we have, with where we're at, and none of us are perfect.
Yeah, I was thinking about, so my kids are all doing lots of different things, like you mentioned. And I remember when probably I was terrible at asking for help before my mom died, because she was kind of like my fill-in person for all things. And I only had one kid really in school at that time. So it was like easy enough to manage that piece. Right. So then now we have the littlest one is 3. So he does preschool, but everybody else is in school, and only 2 of them are going to the same place. It's like, yeah, we're all over the place. But I remember the first time when I was like, oh my gosh, I like need help carpooling, right? Like, it's like, I got to figure out who could help me carpool or who's going to this. And asking for that, then it was like, okay, yeah, like let's switch off. Like you take and I'll pick up. And I was kind of like, well, I could do both. But then it's like, why? Like on some of the days, and then I was like, actually, it's so nice to only have to do one way, because practices or Girl Scouts or whatever it was only like an hour. So then it's like you're taking and then you're hustling home and then you're going back, and it's like, oh my gosh, I have stuff to get done. So I mean, I think it's so nice to have people in our community or in our world that we can ask for help from and that we can reciprocate, because I know I'm really good at helping people. And I'm getting better at accepting help and asking for help, but it's hard because I don't feel like I really grew up seeing that piece modeled. My parents did everything by themselves, basically. And so it has been a growth opportunity for me to have to look towards my community to say, like, I need help, like with logistics, or, I need, like, all of a sudden, like the baby was sleeping and I need my kids to be picked up by a neighbor. And like, is that okay to ask for? Like, yes, absolutely it is. But it was hard to convince myself.
Yeah. And I love, the term that you used, growth opportunity, and it truly is for so many of us. And for many of us, that wasn't modeled, where it's okay to do that. And I do think we're coming a long way. And actually, as I'm saying this, we go back, decades, we go back, but community was really important back in the 1900s, the early mid 1900s. Like, people relied on each other for help and support in different ways. And then we went through a period where it was kind of, I guess, doing it all our own. And now I think we're coming back around. And I've written a few articles about this because, like you, I had a really hard time, and many of us have a hard time receiving. And I had some surgery, and this friend that I shared with you, who we did the house cleaning weight loss challenge, I had some surgery, and she came down and she brought some food, and there was a big pile of dishes in the sink, and she went right over and started washing them. And I was sitting at the table, and I was like, it's okay. You don't need, like, don't do that. I'll get it. And she's like, I want to do these. And I was embarrassed and I was humiliated because the sink was just full of dishes. And in that moment, I realized that she wanted to help out. Like, and me telling her no, I was denying her the gift of giving.
Yes.
And so that's going back a good many years. And so I've written several times about the gift of receiving is actually giving someone else the gift of giving. And I think that's important for us to remember.
Yes. So true. Yes. That literally is what has changed my mind, is understanding that other people, like, I like to help other people, and that I'm actually like blocking other people from that same joy, and to like understand what their value is in my life. Like, if you can't give something, then it's like, what's the purpose, or like, why am I here? Like, I want to do that. And we do want to do those things for the people that are in our lives and we care about. So yes.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Okay. So let's talk about, like, there are parents out there maybe who have a really strong support network, right? Maybe they have like family that lives close by. They have had friends, and that's like such a gift. But then there are people who don't have family close by, or, moved into a community that they don't know people, or, like they have family, but like their parents are aging, so they can't help as much. So like, how do we build a support network? What advice do you have or practical strategies for building a support network?
I think the first thing is to identify things that you like. So I grew up in Raleigh, North Carolina, I spent more than 3 decades in upstate central New York. And then when I moved back to Raleigh 5 years ago, so many things had changed and I really didn't know anybody. And I knew that, so for me, community, that social connection is huge for me. It's actually at the top of my personal facets hierarchy, which is a whole nother conversation. But and so I found a global organization that has chapters everywhere and reached out to people in that local community there. So it was for me, it was an organization that had travel interest, helping people, helping themselves, fitness, overall wellness. So it was find a group or an organization that resonates with you, whether it's art or nature or fitness or knitting, it doesn't matter. Find a group of people in that area where you have common interest, because that is going to be a segue that's going to hopefully make that community building and that relationship building a little easier. If you're raising children, a good place to start is school organizations. So I was very active. They had the book fairs every year. I would get to network with other moms that were in my area, joining the school PTA or PTO or, any of those organizations at the school help you network and build those bonds with other moms that then you can potentially network with. And so those would probably be my top 2 tips. And just know what your interests are and start there.
Yeah. Yeah, that's great. Something that my kids have done. So with my son, it wasn't my oldest. It wasn't quite this way but with the 2 girls, we in kindergarten, it was like we made a group chat of all the moms that had our same gender of child. And so then that was so nice. And then we will get together every once in a while, and like not everybody's there, but it's like a way to get to know people because we're so busy, right? And so it's like you don't authentically, I feel like, get to know people when you're like waiting for something, or you need a little bit more time, right? And sometimes not our children with us to kind of connect with other parents. And I think it's really cool to have that. And so sometimes you have to be the initiator, right? Like even if your kid's in 6th grade, I mean, it may be something where it's like you get a group of parents together, just like the parents of your kids' friends or whatever, to build that community so that you can ask for help, or, hey, did you hear this thing was happening? Or I feel like sometimes I don't get all the intel. And so sometimes I need more parent help to say like, hey, did you hear this happened? Or, sometimes my daughter will tell me something that maybe another daughter hasn't told their mom. And so then I'm like, oh, I heard this was a struggle this week. And they're like, what? So then it's definitely helpful to have those little bits of information too.
Yeah. And so I don't know if you want to end up sharing this or not. Do you or edit it out? But when my son was in 5th grade, he came home one day and told me that one of his classmates was having sex. And I was like, what? And ultimately what happened, so I built that connection with the moms. And so I phoned up a couple of the moms, and it turns out one of the boys had much older siblings, like they were in their 20s.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
And he was in 5th grade. So it was like 15 years difference or something. And so he had started the rumor, but I called the other mom. I'm like, has your son said something to you about this? And she's like, no, but we're going to have a conversation. And she asked him, what he thought sex meant. And he
Mm-hmm.
said, getting close to each other and dancing. And I mean, I laugh about that, right?
Mm-hmm.
And yet, so it was kind of an opportunity to have a conversation, because the
Sure.
last thing that we want is 10, 11-year-olds who are going to be, their hormones are going to start raging
Yes.
anytime
Yeah.
now, to
Mm-hmm.
think that that's what that that's what that
Yes.
means.
Yes.
And so, yeah, that intel is huge. And then being able to reach out
Mm-hmm.
there were 4 moms who were involved, and, we all laughed about it. And yet we all were like, okay, this is an opportunity, and we need to have more conversations with our children, and just to know what is going on,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Because, as you say, our kids don't always tell us everything, and they might start out telling us more than we want to know,
Mm-hmm.
and then switch
Yeah.
sometime in their life to sharing
Sure.
nothing,
Yeah.
or vice versa. And so that in and of itself can be a challenge.
Mm-hmm.
Again, coming back to that placenta handbook, right?
Yes.
This is
Yeah, I
what
know.
you can expect from your child.
Yes, it would be so nice. I feel like by the time we figure it out, my kids will be raised, but it will benefit everybody else. So let's keep working on it.
Yeah.
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 Okay. So I think we talked about the guilt that often comes along with asking for help. So what would you say to parents who are like hearing this and like, okay, I want to like be more engage with this asking for help part, or I want to start trying to ask for help, and that they're feeling guilty? Like, are there pieces of advice or suggestions or ways that they could think about it to help them make that first step or step through that uncomfortable part?
So the easy part would be to just say there's no need to feel guilty. And
Mm-hmm.
yet the truth of the matter is guilt is a normal human response. And
Yeah.
what it looks like and what's going to trigger it for each one of us is different. What's coming to my mind is something I heard in a training that I did once. And it's like, we all have these emotions. Are you going to this person likens emotions to your children in the back seat of a car.
Mm-hmm.
So he's like, you're not going to let the child drive the car, or you're going to let the emotion drive your life. And so recognizing that, okay, I have this guilt and it's a
Mm-hmm.
part of who I am. It's going to take a back seat while I'm driving my life.
Mm-hmm.
And so recognizing that, okay, it's here, but it doesn't have to drive the car. It doesn't have to drive the bus of me. And that's kind of what's coming to my mind is
Mm-hmm.
sometimes the harder we fight to stuff something down, or to say it doesn't matter or it's irrelevant, then it really we can be denying something that really wants and needs our attention.
Mm-hmm.
And so we can, for the time being, sort of put it on a shelf or in the back seat, do what we need to do, while we're also reflecting on, okay, what I say is like digging a little bit deeper. What is triggering this guilt?
Mm-hmm.
And what do I know about it? And what do I want to feel about it? And then we can have some growth, some emotional growth there. That's the first things that kind of come to my mind
Mm-hmm.
with that.
Well, and I think once you make the first step and it generally goes well, because everybody needs help, right? Like
Mhm.
I don't think we were designed to do it by ourselves. I think we were designed to do it in community and in conjunction with other people, because you can't be an expert in all things. You can't know all things, do all things. We're just one human, right? We do our best, but that doesn't mean everything. And so it's like, but once you make that first step, then it's like way easier to make the second and third step and fourth and fifth and then 100th step, right? Like it's way easier to ask for help the second time than it is the first time.
Mhm.
And so keep going.
Yeah, and I would like to point out that we all come to the table with different life experiences, our own upbringings, right? And for some of us, we have parents who are constantly inciting guilt upon us,
Mhm.
heaping guilt upon us. And so for every individual, it's going to look different, and kind of understanding where you are. And the aspect of community, I 100% agree that if we were meant to do it alone, we wouldn't be in community. I mean, we would have just been born by ourselves in a bubble someplace. For some people, it is depending on where, and this is a whole nother conversation, but depending on where their social facet is, their emotional facet is within their own, what I call the five facets hierarchical structure, it can be, for some people, it can be easier to be a part of community. And for others, it can be a real challenge. And it's part of our wiring of literally how we are born into this world. And so one of the things that I encourage people is to stay out of comparison. So not only there's, I don't know who said it, but comparison is the thief of joy. Comparison is actually one of the lifestyle and language behaviors that hold us in a conflict and grief pattern. And so if you can accept that this is what I can do in community, and that community could be just one-on-one with somebody. Some of us, we can commune with large groups of people at one time and have many friends and a large group and be comfortable. And for other people, it's not so comfortable. And so understanding where you feel, what level of community feels right to you, and then reach out and engage. And community could also be like podcast. It could be books. Like we're still drawing from a social body of work and understanding and knowledge to help us with what we're experiencing. So I think I did just felt drawn to share that so that we're not, it's like that social media highlight reel that we talked about earlier. We're looking at what other people who make something look so easy being in community. And for others, it's a challenge. I have a client who from New Zealand, and one of his challenges is feeling comfortable in large groups of people. And so that too is normal for anyone listening, watching, to know that there's a broad spectrum there.
Yeah, absolutely. That's a good perspective to think about, because what everybody needs is different in terms of community. It could be lots of different things, and different ways that you gathered community could be. I mean, some people have community and they have friends from elementary school that they've had their entire lives. I'm not one of those people, but like, I mean, that's great for those people. I love that, but it doesn't always have to be that. It's what works for you and what feels good for you. And if you feel like having one person and that is community for you, amazing, right? If it's several people, great. If it's a large group or lots of different groups, amazing, right? I think it's just different for every person. So thanks for pointing that out. Okay. So like, as we conclude, talk to me about, what do you want people, like, what's one thing you really want parents to leave this conversation with today?
There is no handbook. There's no handbook. You're doing the best you can with where you're at, with what you have, everything you're bringing to the table right now. And remember that you're not alone. Remember that there is no handbook, and just continue finding your community and drawing from the resources that can help you answer any questions that you have, no matter what that community or those resources look like. No, truly, filling yourself up with what you need is going to allow you to be the best parent that you can be, and be the best version of yourself at any given time. Again, doing the best you can with where you're at, with what you have, and then just find the community that you trust, that's aligned with you, and utilize those resources. Know that we're all here to help one another in some form or another.
totally agree. Thank you so much, Anna. This has been such a great conversation.
Thank you, Bryce. I've really enjoyed our conversation today.
Thanks again for joining us today. And thanks, Anna, for all of your words of wisdom and advice. You are definitely a seasoned parent that we are all looking to suggestions from. I'm just still in the muck. So anybody that can help me out is amazing. I hope that you gain some pieces of advice from this topic and that you're ready to implement some things so that you can build your community for yourself and your children. With that, I will say, hey, if you enjoyed this episode, will you share it with a friend? Will you also subscribe to our show, whatever platform you're listening on? If you can just hit that subscribe button, we would definitely appreciate it. And also follow us on Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, and YouTube, and keep the emails coming, guys. I love getting topic suggestions for our future shows at accidentalexperts@gmail.com. Have a wonderful day. Some words from our legal team.
The information presented in this podcast is not intended or implied to be a substitute for appropriate professional advice, diagnosis, or treatment. All content, including text, graphics, images, and information contained on or available through this podcast, is for general information purposes only. This podcast makes no representations and assumes no responsibility for the accuracy or information on or available through this podcast, and such information is subject to change without notice. You are encouraged to confirm any information obtained through this program with other sources and review all information regarding any condition or treatment with the appropriate professionals.
What we're saying is, yes, I am a real therapist, but I'm not your therapist.